in today's session of Divorce Court. Lujuana Banks says after 10 years, she knows what she wants, and it's not Orlando.
She found somebody else, and she doesn't love me anymore.
I was still married to him, but I could not tell because my husband was never there.
So then you decided it's time to replace
It's time to replace him.
All right. In the 10 years, I guess you didn't find anybody else that, you know, rocked your boat like this one did.
But he says he's better off without her.
She never let me go anywhere. She was so jealous all the time. If I keep talking to you and looking at you long enough, she's probably going to get jealous in just a minute.
Now Lujuana Banks and Orlando Banks face off one last time before going their separate ways in today's session of Divorce Court.
All rise. Court is now in session. Maybelline Ephraim presiding. You may be seated.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is the matter of Orlando Banks versus Lujuana Banks. Now, I don't believe, and I think this is a typographical error, but the court notes say that you dated each other for 10 years, but you've been married a year and a half and now filed for divorce.
That's correct.
Mrs. Banks, well, explain. That's phenomenal.
Your Honor, I came here to get a divorce because my husband, he was no good. He betrayed me and my kids.
That's just her opinion.
He left us home
Let me
alone.
listen to her opinion.
He left us home alone, hungry, with no means of taking care of ourselves because he asked me
Mr.
to
Banks,
be.
I'm going to let you talk. Don't interrupt her. He left you homeless, left you hungry. You're telling me he didn't work and provide food?
He worked, but he was not a provider because when he gets his check, he got paid on Fridays. He worked 7 days a week. He got paid on Fridays, and Friday night, he came home one Friday night, left us a pizza that he got from the pizza place next to his job. He left, and we hadn't seen him no more. He didn't go to work Saturday nor Sunday. I caught up with him that Monday when he went to work and come back again. The next weekend, it was the same thing.
Your Honor, we were
So
already
he's a Friday night, a weekend man. He go away for the weekend.
He's a weekend man
Your
and
Honor,
come
we were
home
already
broke
separated.
Monday.
Mr. Banks?
And he cannot provide.
I cannot hear both of you at the same time. That's the last time I'm going to say it. Now, if you want me to hear this case, you will heed my warning. Because I won't hear it at all. Case will be dismissed with nothing decided.
Your Honor, when I came home on Fridays were payday. She would not let me leave out the door without giving her money, period, ever. Not even on payday. She never let me go anywhere. She was just so jealous all the time. She was so jealous all the time. If I keep talking to you and looking at you long enough, she's probably going to get jealous in just a minute. But that's just how she was. I couldn't even leave.
Your Honor,
So what are you telling me is
Because
that...
on Fridays, I would leave on Friday. When I came home on Fridays, I had to give her money before I could even go out the door. Before I could walk out the door, she had to have some money. Okay,
Well, what's
I probably
wrong with
did
that
leave
if you're coming
because
home? Now, you don't...
relationship.
Wait. Don't overtalk me.
Yes, ma'am.
Point is, you've been together a long time, and my point is, if you're with somebody for 10 years, they leave, they don't provide for you, they don't take care of you, they don't do anything for you, as you say, then what is the point of getting married and having a marriage certificate? What made you think that was going to change things?
Your Honor, I know now that's why I'm here, that it's not going to change.
No, but my question to you was, what made you think it was going to change things?
Because I love this man. I depended on this man for so long.
Depending on somebody who didn't
Mr.
take
Banks,
care
be
of
quiet.
I depended on him for a long time.
Yeah, but I didn't
But you were
take care
able
of her.
to depend on him without being married to him. But now you're telling me you couldn't depend on him because he left you homeless.
I married him to hopefully thinking that he would change. It would change him. This way he said to me.
Now, that's the most ignorant sounding thing. I married him. I was with him for 10 years. He didn't do anything for me. He left me hungry. He left me homeless. He left me hungry. He was in and out of my life. But I married him because I thought then if I said I do, it would change. No, he said, you said I do, he said I won't. The same as he's been doing.
She said the key word, she depended on me for so long. And
I depended on him, and just like
she depended on me for so long.
Well, explain it your side. Why the marriage?
I loved her, and I still love her. I care for her. I still care for her. It's just that she found somebody else, and she doesn't love me anymore.
Oh, that's why it was only 2 months.
That's what the real problem is.
But,
yes, ma'am.
No,
she
that's
found
not
somebody
true,
else, and she doesn't love me
Honor.
anymore.
All right. I wish I had some tape.
I'm sorry.
So I just have to deal with her wanting to be with somebody else and not loving me anymore. I even came back. We call ourselves going to, during the separation, try to get back together.
So 2 months after you got married, she found somebody else?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're telling me?
That's the way it went. That's the way it seemed to go. When I called
What do
home
you mean,
from work,
way it went, it seemed to go? Give me some
When I called home
facts.
from work, she had somebody else and she still has them. When I called home from work, she stopped being at home in the daytime. I didn't know where she was.
So she was no longer there taking care of the kids?
She, neither the house.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
I come home.
No, he's talking
I
now.
come home, the house is a mess. She hadn't cooked anything. She hadn't cleaned up. And if she was at home, usually she'd be laying in the bed.
And this is
watching
after you
television.
married her?
This was after we were married.
But before then, what did she do?
She worked. For a while, she worked some, and she cleaned up the house. She took real good care of the
So
house.
she was a
my
good
job.
housekeeper before you married her?
Yes, ma'am.
And she got up off herself and took care of the kids?
Well, we both took care of the kids. Usually, it was me getting them up, taking them, getting them ready for school because I woke up earlier to go to work.
But then once you married her, you call home and she's gone during the day?
In the day, she's not home. Where were you?
And what was her answer?
With a friend, over some friends.
It's not funny.
It sure is not because he
Because
is
you
telling
know
a
what? It's
bald-faced lie, Your Honor.
Well, what were you doing?
First of all, he left me because he never, like I said, he didn't come home on the weekends. He left
Now, Miss
me.
Banks, hold on a second. I'm going to tell you straight out. I'm not going to even play any games with you. Your story just doesn't make
Your Honor. Would you please just let me tell you that this man, before...
You're going to shut up and listen
Okay.
to me for a minute.
Okay.
Because I want you to try to think about what you say before you say it.
Okay.
Because what you're telling me now, I'm going to tell you, I just don't believe it. Because it just doesn't make good, logical, common sense to me. And I'm sorry, I just use logic, okay? And I rely on common sense a lot. Sorry about that. But to be with somebody for 10 years that's not doing anything for you, that leaves you homeless, that leaves every weekend, doesn't take care of you, is no good to you, and then suddenly you say, but we're going to get married. For better or for worse, which means even if you leave me homeless and even if I don't have much money, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, and then 2 months later, you're out of there. I'm not buying that it's because he left you homeless and he didn't take care of you and because he wasn't providing for you. You got to come up with something else.
Your Honor, not only that.
No, be quiet, Mr. Banks. I'm on Miss Banks now.
He could not have left. He left me. Why I say he left me homeless? I had an apartment which he caused me to lose.
That was within 2 months of the marriage.
No,
That
ma'am,
was
about
prior
7
to the
years.
marriage.
I'm not
7
talking
years
about
ago.
prior to the marriage. Stay with me.
Ma'am,
That's
in
why.
the
That's why I'm saying he left
stay,
me homeless.
Stay with
Your
me.
Honor, Your
Stay. No. Yes, I'm Your Honor. I know my title. I know what you're saying, and I hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Okay.
No. Stay with me in space and time.
When divorce court returns, Orlando testifies about Lujuana's spiteful behavior.
Somebody busted window out of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
So
You
who's
know,
the man that's breaking out his windows, Miss Banks?
I have no idea.
her boyfriend now?
It was
She
not my-
knows.
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. Divorce Court is back in the case of Lujuana Banks, who says after being with Orlando for over 10 years, she now realizes he's not man enough for her.
What proof do you have that she found somebody else?
One night I was there. One day I was there. We called ourselves going to get back together. I'm over there. My car's out front. We're in the house, laying down in the bed, sleeping. My daughter comes to the bedroom door, say, Dad, I know you're going to be mad, but somebody just bust your windows out.
Somebody busted window out of your car.
Yes, ma'am. Bust the windows out of my car. So I'm like, well, who would do something like that? I'm in here sleeping. First I thought it was one window. Then I just lay back down. I said, okay, I'll just get the window replaced, tomorrow. She said, no, you need to get up and go and check your car and maybe cover your window. So I get up and go out the door. my passenger window, my rear glass window, and my driver's window burst out. So
all of the windows just about.
So all of them except my windshield. So somebody in the apartment said his name. I'm like, that's the guy who you say was who you know was a friend. I said, but why would a friend come and burst my windows? I never even knew what he looked like at the time.
But you had heard the name?
I had heard the name, yes, ma'am.
So the neighbors told you it was that person
yes,
who had broken out your windows?
Yes, ma'am. And then come to find out after that, so I decided this was the day I said, well, I wanted to be with her, wanted to be with my kids, but I'm like, I can't be coming home and my car's out in the front and can't get peace of mind and go to sleep in here.
At your own house?
At my own house because I'm worried about what some lunatic gonna do to my car.
So who's the man that's breaking out his windows, Miss Banks?
I have no idea.
Her boyfriend now. She knows her boyfriend
I'm not talking to you now.
Your Honor.
Who's the man breaking out his windows?
Yes, I do have a friend now.
You have a friend now?
I have a friend now.
Did you have him a few months ago?
After my husband left for the last time, the last weekend that he left.
Yes, ma'am.
The last weekend that he left, Your Honor, I told him he could not come back. When he said his car windows got bust out, that was after he attempted to come back to me, which he already knew.
To try to get back together.
It was no agreement, Your Honor.
So by then you had already found somebody else? I had
a friend.
A male friend?
A male friend.
All right, you want to put it nicely. You had found a male friend.
I found a
somebody
male
else.
friend.
So that's what happened then. After those 10 years of putting up with that, you finally found somebody else who, on one of his weekend excursions.
And yes,
that's correct.
That person you thought was like, okay, now it's time to replace him.
On one of his weekends out.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's correct.
And she was still married to me.
And then
I was still married to him, but I could not tell because my husband was never there.
So then you decided it's time to replace him.
It's time to replace him.
All right, there it is right there.
Okay.
Don't start telling me all of a sudden about, you could do it for 10 years. You can do it for 10 years. You can certainly do it for 2 months after marriage. But in the 10 years, I guess you didn't find anybody else that, rocked your boat like this one did. Right?
That's correct.
So then you were open to a new relationship because you were really grown tired of that before the 10 years.
I was tired of him dogging me.
Okay, Yana, now my question is, in all that, we've been separated now almost a year. She ran up a $300 bill on a credit card that belonged to me just in August.
She ran up a $300 bill since you've been separated from her?
Since we've been separated.
How did she get your credit card?
I didn't know she had one. It's in both of our names. I didn't know she had it slipped my mind doing all the other things I had to take care of that she had it.
And she still had it?
Yes, ma'am.
And what she uses $300 for?
Your Honor, it was a mutual decision.
No,
because
ma'am.
my oldest daughter, her birthday was coming up and it was time for school. He had lost his job, okay? He had no job. I had no job. We got a credit card with a $300 limit on it. We got a birthday coming up.
We did not get anything.
And we have school coming up. We have to get school clothes.
And I was still working at that time.
So
I took my
Mr. Banks, be quiet.
on her birthday a gold chain.
Mr. Banks.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I did, Your Honor. Used the credit card. I bought shoes for my kids. I bought party supplies for my daughter, for my daughter's birthday party, and I put gas in my car.
So you used the credit card for the benefit of the children
That's
and yourself?
Correct. That's correct.
And did you tell him before you used
yes,
it or
I
after
did.
you
It was
used
a mutual decision for me to use the card because that was all the income that we had at the time.
All right, Mr. Banks, what you say about that?
No, ma'am. It was not a mutual decision for us to use it, and I was still employed, gainfully employed at that time.
Were you giving her money for the children?
Yes, ma'am, I was giving her money for the children.
Any proof of that?
I gave her cash. I gave her cash. I never gave her, and we had an agreement, and she know I did. I've always given her cash.
Well, she's never said you've lost your job.
Well, she said I lost my job, but on my daughter's birthday, she's attributing this to a birthday. No, on my daughter's birthday, I came and gave my daughter a gold necklace and a gold bracelet to match the necklace.
So you had already bought her a gift?
I had already bought her a gift. Why would I tell her to go and incur other charges on me? And we were already separated.
Do you acknowledge that the card was used a year and a half after you had separated?
Your Honor, yes. I gave this man 10 years of my life. And he gonna tell me I owe him $300?
You gave each other 10 years of your life.
That's right.
I gave him 10 years of my life. I'm the one sitting at home at night looking at my window wondering, is my husband gonna come home to me?
I'm the one
Well,
riding
you didn't give him
her.
10 years of your married life. The married life was only 2
It
months.
was his fault. He should have
All
been
right,
a
you don't
husband
need
that
Miss Banks, I already told you I wasn't buying that one.
Okay.
And you still trying to sell me that wolf ticket. I'm not buying it.
Okay.
Court's adjourned. I'm going to take a break.
When divorce court returns, the judge renders her verdict.
I think somebody told you all that if you go in there and tell that judge anything, she'll believe it because she was just born last night.
And an update on the case of Shantivia Peterson versus Shawn Peterson.
So she's a shopaholic.
Yeah, I do go shopping. Yes, I do.
That's cutting it short, Your Honor.
What else would you call it?
The equivalent of Ivana Trump.
Divorce court is back and the verdict is in the case of Orlando Banks, who says he feels like a used car after his wife Lujuana decided it was time to trade him in for a new man.
We're back in the matter of Orlando Banks versus Lujuana Banks. I think somebody told you all that if you go in there and tell that judge anything, she'll believe it because she was just born last night. Because what you're trying to tell me as to why the marriage is over in 2 months after a 10-year relationship absolutely makes no sense. And what's clear is that after 10 years, you put up with it until you found somebody else, and you didn't have to put up with it any longer. And I can understand that. That makes absolutely much more sense. Because even though you weren't legally married, but a few months, you were living together and planned marriage the other 10 years, so you had run your course. And you were through with this relationship. Just that simple. That makes absolutely much better sense than all of a sudden he's doing the same thing he was doing for 10 years, but now I want out. Now that I've said I do and made it legal. Makes no sense. In terms of the credit card obligation, even though you were married to him at one time, your name was not, the card was in his name. He's the primary card holder. If you were using the card a year and a half after separation, shouldn't have been using the card at that point, but if you were a secondary card holder and you still could charge on it, that's fine. But you're responsible for it, Mrs. Banks. You can't do that a year and a half after separation and think that he's supposed to pay for it. You made the charges a year and a half. That's much too long. If it had even been immediately after the separation for the children or to get yourself some gas. But a year and a half later, he certainly has no responsibility to put gas in your car and to take care of you. So that debt is yours. And the order of the court is that Mrs. Banks is ordered to pay the credit card obligation. Court's adjourned.
Thank you,
All rise.
When divorce court returns, an update on the case of Shantivia Peterson versus Shawn Peterson.
And when you go, how much are you spending?
Maybe $500.
So you're saying she's trying to keep up with the Jones?
She's trying to surpass the Joneses, Your Honor.
Oh.
If you would like to have the judge hear your case in divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or email us at www.divorcecourttv.com. And now for an update on a previous case in divorce court. Shawn Peterson said he wanted to divorce his wife Shantivia because she loved to shop more than she loved him.
This is over $3,000 worth of jewelry that I purchased that she took to the pawn shop just so she could buy an outfit.
So she's a shopaholic.
Yeah, I do go shopping. Yes, I do.
That's cutting it short, Your Honor.
What else would you call it?
The equivalent of Ivana Trump.
Well, Ivana Trump has money. You have that kind of money,
No,
Miss Peterson?
he don't make enough money.
How often do you go?
How often I go to the mall? Maybe 3 times a month.
Ask her what's on sale. I bet you she can tell you that.
And when you go, how much are you spending?
Maybe $500.
So you're saying she's trying to keep up with the Jones?
She's trying to surpass the Joneses, Your Honor.
Oh.
Shawn wanted Shantivia to get their jewelry out of the pawn shop and give it back to him. The judge ordered Shantivia to get the jewelry out and give Shawn his belongings. Shawn says he now has a new girlfriend and is supporting his children. Shantivia says she's spending lots of money on new clothes because she wants to look good for herself.
I feel the verdict was unfair because I did, like I said, he never gave me anything for my kids after our separation.
I think the verdict was very fair. She used the card, she charged on it, she need to pay the bill.
For me to have to pay him for the things that I had to do for my kids on his account, that's unfair.